Welcome to the Thursday night Indie Spotlight. I'm here with my guest, Mr. Jonathan Darwin. How you doing this evening, sir?
I'm very great, sir. Thank you for having me.
Oh, not a problem. Uh, so you know, we announced this show late last week, and we're going to be talking
Mhm.
about an event coming up that's very near and dear to you. Um, I'm going to go ahead and show the poster real
Yes, sir.
quick. So this is called
hmm
Headlocks for Huntington's disease. I see Ring Wars Carolinas. I know them. Uh, and I
hmm
see Champions for HD. I'm not real familiar with the AIWF, but
Right.
I do know who Silas Young is. Man, it looks like a pretty built event. Lots of sponsors, and it's up in Lumberton, North Carolina.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of talent. Fodder you've seen other places, especially Control Your Narrative. Been on
Okay,
AEW Dark Elevation. Um, might be pulling back the curtain a little, but some other three-letter promotion has given him a tryout that airs on Mondays and Fridays. So,
that doesn't. We don't have curtains here. I'll just
okay.
go ahead and tell you that. Yeah, we don't have that. Yeah,
Okay.
no.
But I don't want to say anything because I don't know. But I would presume by the end of 2022 or early 2023, you'll see Fodder on your television somewhere.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and he's a great guy. Uh, AIWF is a governing body. There's several promotions underneath it. Matt Classic could probably tell more about that. Ring Wars Carolina is one of those dependent bodies. So they have championships in Ring Wars Carolina that are recognized, and then they have world championships. Right now, the AIWF World Heavyweight Champion is Damian Wayne. So,
Damian
good man.
Wayne. Okay. Yeah, he works out of Virginia for I can't think of the name of that promotion. One of my one of our no no one of my followers brings him up all the time. Vanguard. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
Vanguard.
yeah,
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 he,
yeah. And
uh,
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to talk
no,
over you.
it's over in the. I think he's over towards the Norfolk area.
Okay. Yeah, and I know you can't see some of the names on there. Flex Simmons was trained at the ROH Dojo. He's part of CYN right now, as well as RWC. Victor Andrews, Future of Honor, Ring of Honor. He's been on WWE television, NXT television. I'm trying to see Alex Bryant's a real up and comer. Gemstone is as well. So, and I can just announce that it was inked today that we were able to secure Jason Kincaid for the event. So Jason
Uh,
Kincaid will be in action that evening as well.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. Jason and I are longtime friends, and he wants to come out to raise money for this organization that's important to me.
Gotcha. So tell me about this. Tell me,
Okay,
everything.
okay. So let's start probably why it's important to me, and then we'll talk about the disease and what the organization does, if that's okay with you. On February 5th, 2021, my wife was diagnosed with Huntington's disease, and I reserve the right to tear up at some point, maybe if it happens. Um, Huntington's disease is a genetic disorder. It's That's the only way you can get it. It's passed from offspring to offspring. It is a treatable and manageable disease, and the disease is incurable. It's a neurodegenerative illness. It's commonly described as having Lou Gehrig's disease, Parkinson's, and dementia all at the same time. Um, and it's no, there are no two people will experience the same symptoms. Some people will lose cognitive ability faster than others. Some keep it all. Some lose the ability to walk and are bedridden. Some lose the ability to swallow. Some lose the ability to talk. Um, it's a really deteriorating disease, and it's one that is tough to watch somebody go through, obviously. Um, so, being the good husband I am, and having to spend time in a car often when you're traveling for wrestling, I started looking for podcasts about Huntington's disease. And one of them I found was Champions for HD. Champions for HD is hosted by a lovely lady named Shelby Lentz. Shelby Lentz has a connection to Huntington's disease by the fact that she's HD positive. Her sister died of juvenile Huntington's disease, and her father had Huntington's disease. So this is important to her. The organization was established in 2018, and it raises money for a variety of things. It'll raise money for Huntington's disease awareness. It'll raise money to help those that are suffering from Huntington's disease and may not be able to afford things. Like just last year, they purchased a motorized wheelchair for a young lady. They also purchased a handicap accessible van. They helped somebody with medical bills because the insurance stopped caring for them. And there are other things they will do too. They will help pay for somebody's genetic testing. They will also help pay for legal fees with disabilities. And sometimes it's just a cash offset they also give, like if somebody's having trouble paying their electrical bill.
Wow. That's I mean that's a fantastic organization, and that disease is unreal. Um,
Yeah.
Now, so you were driving down the road. I get that traveling a lot for wrestling. I understand.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Um, but being able to find a podcast centered around Huntington's disease is well, I guess there's a podcast for everything, right? Um,
Yeah. But there was only two that I found: Champions and Help for HD, which is another good podcast.
okay,
But Champions is the one that I drew to.
right. Now you said the now is Champions for HD generally uh, involved when it comes to putting professional wrestling in there, or is Champions for HD any type of sport athlete, or is
No.
it or
Okay.
neither of?
It's neither. It's a 501c3 nonprofit, and
Okay,
I am a social media ambassador. So the way this came about was I was on another podcast, hashtag Truth with Scott Island, a
Scott
while
Larson,
ago,
yes sir.
and Scott Larson. Sorry, rest in peace, Scott Island. Um, and I was, and I Scott's not gonna let me live that one down. So I was on his show, and I talked about wanting to host an event. This was back in May. May is Huntington's Disease Awareness Month, and I
Right.
kept trying to put it together. And anybody who's a promoter who may be watching or has helped try to put a wrestling event together knows what a complex animal that is. And I just said, look, okay, this is not going to happen this year. This is going to happen next year. And the promoter of Ring Wars Carolina pulled me aside and said, like, look, are you going to do this or not? I said, okay. He's like, what about September? Because we just had the anniversary show. September is a show where it is normally reserved for, I don't want to say it's a break, but we're getting ready. We're gearing up for the Candy Bowl, which is October event, and then of course the stuff at the end of the year. So this was a perfect month to have it, and I said, let's do it. So I reached out to the president of the organization. She said yes. She gave us the logo to put on the poster. She's been very helpful as far as getting the word out for me. And right now, it's the proceeds for the evening event will be given to Champions for HD, and then that organization of champions will distribute the money as needed.
Okay.
Mhm.
Now, so Ring Wars Carolina is involved in this, and as I said before, I recognize that company.
Yeah.
I'm fairly confident I know some talent that roll up there. What
Mhm.
I've never been up that far for it, um, but there are a couple of comments we're going to catch up on. This is David Estacado. He said, "Hello, gentlemen." David said, "Great card, great event, and great cause." Now, I know he does some work in the upper portions of North Carolina.
Yeah, and
And
him and I. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
go ahead. No, you're good.
David and I have also done post-production work for another AIWF affiliate, International Combat Sports, out of West Virginia.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
I met Dave in Atlanta at MomoCon.
Mhm.
Fantastic commentary.
Yes.
Fantastic. Um, And remember, I mentioned one of our faithful fans right here. This is the guy in Virginia who's all about Damian Wayne. Man, he knows the guy and watches him perform over at whatever whatever I called it earlier. I can't remember the name of it now.
Right.
Vanguard. That was it. Vanguard.
Mhm.
Uh, David said, "I get around." Yeah.
He does. Well, that's how you have to do it in this. You
Right.
can't just stay like I could have stayed in West Virginia for my whole career, but I would not have had the exposure that I've had for the past 14 plus years if I just stayed in a 2 hour distance. I mean, I've traveled to Tennessee, Virginia, North Carolina, and I tell you, the drive to Lumberton is probably the longest one I've done in a while. Because from where I live in West Virginia, it'll take me 5.5 hours to get to Lumberton for Ring Wars.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. But like I said, it's nothing. It's like, okay, 2 hours here, 4 hours there, 3 hours there. But I mean, the exposure I'm getting with Ring Wars and getting to call big matches. Fodder's wrestled people like Josh Goods. He's wrestled Moose. He's wrestled Weston Blake. I mean, these are bigger names. So where else am I going to get that
Right.
experience and that chance? And of course, it's with Ring Wars. So
Right. I mean, I don't know, man. I drove 90 minutes. I ring announced for Ricky Morton 2 weeks
mhm.
ago. That was
Oh,
that was awesome.
was it at the School of Morton?
No,
Okay.
it was in Charlotte. It was a indie show in Charlotte, North Carolina for Pro Wrestling Savage.
Oh yeah, and that's ran by
Thomas
Scott.
Scott. Yep.
Thomas Scott.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Thomas has been helping mentor me as far as doing public relations. And right before I had my NWA tryout, he gave me some good advice because he could tell I was overthinking things. And I will never forget it. And I think it's the best piece of advice any talent could have, wrestler, referee, wherever, whatever. And that is the biggest enemy you will have is in between your ears.
He's not wrong.
No, because I mean, you think about how, and we've all known people in the locker rooms that go out, kill it, have a great look, will come back and will be the most critical of their match, you know,
Right.
because it's like, because it's just like, oh, I missed this, but you know what? They didn't catch it, so Thomas Scott's a great guy, and
Oh
I'm
yeah.
hoping to get to do some work with him, and maybe next year, maybe do a fundraiser with Pro Wrestling Savage as well. So
Gotcha. Yeah. One thing I agree with what you're saying. A lot of the people will kind of come back and critique their own work. The
right,
fans don't know what was
no,
supposed to and what wasn't supposed to happen. They don't know. They don't know you slipping on the rope was an accident. They think it was part of the show. They think you
yeah,
were exhausted. They think
yeah,
that you know. They think that it was all meant to be that way. They don't
yeah,
know what's real and fake. So
yeah,
it's fantastic.
yeah.
Um,
Or I meant to throw the guy in this corner, and we had to redo it, and the camera, the fans that connected with it though. They don't know that. They don't
right,
know that you were supposed to go into the far side corner to face the hard cam.
right.
But I'm,
And then I talked to Thomas Scott a lot. He's a absolute pleasure to work with. So,
mhm, yeah. I want to circle back around to HD because I was showing you a
oh yeah,
statistic beforehand, and
yeah.
I think it's really interesting to share this with your viewing audience. Uh, the
Yeah,
bottom
this
number is
number's
the
insane.
yeah, the bottom number is the population of the United States about last year, approximately 331,893,745. Those that have Huntington's disease, approximately 41,000. Think about that number for a second. I mean, we're not even hitting even 1% of the population. So,
Right.
it's tough because, but the support groups that I'm in, it's a very tight knit community and a very supportive community.
You're
Um,
talking on average of less than 800 people per state. and that's not including each individual state's capita. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
So that's an astonishing number. You see
Well,
800 people a day going to work. You know?
right, right. Yeah, it's just one of those things that, and people go, well, this is why haven't I heard about Huntington's disease? Well, this is exactly why. Because I mean, it wasn't really on my wife's radar or my radar. I mean, we knew an aunt that had it on her side, but as far as all the information about it and what it does to the body and research and what's being done and how the whole process works to go through all the jump through all the hoops, and it's just one of those things that many people don't register with, and that's nothing wrong with that. That's part of um, why I'm being so vocal, because
Right.
I feel like if I don't use the talents and gifts that I have and the outlets that I have and not say anything, I'm doing a disservice to those 41,000 people, one of which is my wife.
Right.
Yeah. And
I-
there's about 200,000 more that may have it. A lot of people don't get genetically tested. Um, and some people can't be genetically tested for uh, age reasons. It is very frowned upon. In fact, I don't know an insurance company that would sign off on it unless your child was showing symptoms of HD. They do not test people under the age of 18
Okay.
for obvious reasons. I mean, so, and the reason I bring that up is another number, 50%. If a person has HD, there is a 50% chance their child will have HD.
Okay.
So it's a bigger number, much bigger number.
Right. Yeah, that is a much larger number. So,
Yeah.
and because it's genetic, it'll always get passed down.
Right. Now, one of the silver linings is if the child does not have it, that ends the line. So, like, we are hoping that our son does not have it because then his children will not have it.
Oh, okay.
So that's the good thing. It doesn't skip a generation. It ends. It ends, which is um, the biggest thing I think my wife is hoping for right now is if he ever does get tested, that he'll test HD negative. So
Right. That's a still that's a lot. That's a lot to it.
yeah,
Let's see here. Kept catching up on comments. Jonathan is a great guy to work. Book him.
I'll put a little extra something in his PO next time we work together now.
There you go. Yeah, the envelope.
Yeah.
He said he'll carpool with you. So
Yeah. Yeah. I guess because we were talking about through Messenger about my announcing career. And I got to tell you, it was 100% by accident that I ended up becoming a commentator for North Carolina.
okay.
Okay, so here's what happened. James Anthony was the individual who went to the promoter and said, look, bring him in. We need an interviewer because that's what I was going to be primarily doing. I was going to be the Mean Gene Okerlund role. I drive to his house in North Carolina, and then we drive down the rest of the way. So my first event there, I'm also ring announcing. I guess you could call it ring announcing. I was sitting at the table because it was an over the top battle royal. It was one of those battle royals or rumbles where two people start and then every so many seconds somebody else comes out and somebody else comes out and somebody else comes out. Very, very Royal Rumble-ish. And I remember sitting there and I'm being quiet and being polite. And G Money, who was on commentary at the time, looked at me. Now, there was also Mr. Magnificent, who was the other half of commentary. Well, Mr. Magnificent ended up getting his name announced for the Rumble. He was in the Golden Opportunity Rumble as well. So that left me in G Money. And then G Money's name gets announced, and it's like, okay. So before that, because he knew it was coming, I didn't, because he knew he entered his name. He didn't know when. He starts putting me on commentary. So it was like they didn't know who I was, if I was the Drizzlins, if I was good. It was like he's sitting in the chair. We're gonna give him a microphone and see what happens.
Trial by fire.
Yo, God, yes. Oh my gosh,
100%.
yes. Oh yeah. And then at the end of the night, because both of them had come back, we do the other half of the show together in a 3-man team, and I just gelled with them. In fact, it was one of my favorite evenings in commentary because it was absolutely unexpected. It was thoroughly enjoyable. I got to call some good matches with people like Caribbean Tiger and Gemstone, and it was I was off to the races after that. They're like, "You're at the table now. This is not an option. You will be sitting with us moving forward."
Right.
So that was and it's been going. I've been there 2 years now, and I absolutely love it.
After 14 years, you still get the bubbles when you walk through the curtain?
A little, especially if it's a bigger name. Like, I think the biggest. I just recently got the bubbles. Recently, when I did AML versus CYN.
Okay.
I never had got a chance to call that stacked of a card before. I'm like, I can't mess this up. I can't mess this up. And I worked myself up into a frenzy for that.
Right.
So, I mean, there is energy, there is adrenaline there. Uh, Nerves help produce focus. So yeah, there's a little bit of nerves too.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's I hear you on that and I agree, but everybody's always like, "Oh, you're just going through the curtain." The cool thing is it's indie. You still want to do a great job, but it's not like
Yeah.
you know, it's not it's hard to articulate it the correct way. You want to do a great job and you want everybody to feel the same energy you do,
Hmm.
but at the same time, when you take it too serious, like my first time out, man, when I walked back through the curtain, they were like, "Brother, you're gonna have a stroke if you don't calm down." I was like, "All right then, my bad." So, next show I was way loose, and by the main event of my second show, I went through the curtain, and one person sat in Gorilla the entire time after his match, which was in the beginning of the show. He parked a chair right there. Everybody else who went in and out of the back had to go around him. He was not moving. He was waiting for me. And I would come in and he would go, "This, good, adjust this is fine, and you got it, go." And that was it. So, I'm grateful I had, veteran help on my way in and out.
And you know what? That's what I got to say too, because we're talking about veteran help. I know that there is this competitiveness, and don't try to get somebody to help you because they're going to be paranoid you're taking their spot or whatnot. But over the last year, I have received more help and feedback on commentary from people at a higher level that are so giving. And since we're not hiding secrets here, I'll tell you one of those individuals and why I'm so happy that he was willing to give and what it meant to me. I decided at this point in my career, I'm like, if I want to get to the national television level, I'm going to have to tighten some things up. And I'm going to have to get real and have people look at my work and tear it down or pick it apart. So I started reaching out to people, and one of those individuals was Caprice Coleman, big North Carolina wrestler, uh, AEW, Ring of Honor, great with Ian Riccaboni, and also a fantastic human being. So I said, "Hey, man, I told him who I was and what I was trying to do, and hey, would you be willing to watch this?" I did not have any idea that he would watch the whole 1 hour broadcast. I figured he would watch for 10 minutes and that would be it. But he watched the whole broadcast and gave me some really good notes. I mean, this is somebody on national television who does not have to give me the time of day, but did so. And he did it out of the kindness of his own heart because I said, "How much do you want for this?" And the only thing he said was, "Just pay it forward."
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is fantastic.
Yeah. Caprice is one of those guys that deserves everything in this world because of how giving he is to this business. Another individual who I had recently look at my stuff was Joe Dombrowski. Some of you may or may not know him. He is the play-by-play commentator on the English announce team for AAA, and he's also the color commentator for MLW. Now, him I threw a little bit of money to because what I asked for was a little more than what Caprice did, which was I sent him 2 interviews and I sent him also an episode. And I said, "Dude, how much would you charge me to watch, not only watch it, but do a typed written breakdown of it?" And we agreed upon a figure, and he sent me 2 full pages of notes on everything.
Wow.
And it was great. So he's helped me get better. Caprice has helped me get better. One of the individuals I've sent stuff to Kyle Davis in NWA, and Kyle's written me back and has never asked for anything. He was the same type as Caprice. Just pay it forward, help somebody out. And Kyle didn't have to do that. Caprice didn't have to do that, but they did. One individual who I reached out to just because I said of what I was talking about earlier. Now, he didn't watch the whole thing. He only watched it for a couple of minutes, and he put it on for background noise, and he told me this in the email, but he talked about how passionate I was and how great it was. And I have a photo of this on my Facebook page, and I'll probably post it again and maybe pin it as a post because it hasn't been a while. And people couldn't believe that I reached out to Bill Apter and asked him for feedback. And Bill
Actually,
gave me
I just met him.
Really?
Yeah. He was at the gathering.
Oh yeah, that's right. Bill's a great guy.
Yeah, we were outside. I don't remember if it was intermission or just before the wrestling show started on Saturday night, but it was myself, Thomas Scott, Colby Carino, and a worker from down this way called AJ Frost.
Okay.
We were all outside, and Bill Apter came out and was standing there talking with us, and I didn't know who it was.
Really?
Because I just didn't. I'm not so divided lines here, right? Where I'm at now here in the Carolinas, this was WCW country.
Yeah.
So I'm from DC.
Mm-hmm.
That's New York territory, right? That was that was WWE territory. I knew more about their stuff than I did anything else growing up.
Yeah.
Now my brothers knew all that stuff because I'm the youngest of 5, but they knew all that. WCW, NWA, they knew all of it. But I didn't know who Bill Apter was, but he was very polite, told jokes outside. He was just out there hanging out with us, like he knew Thomas and them. So it was just interesting the way it fell out.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous because Bill, I would love to meet face to face just to thank him, and get him to autograph my copy of his book. Is Wrestling Fixed? I didn't even know it was broken. Yeah. But he's another one of those individuals. Like, he's older. I mean, he helped broker the deal for Jerry Lawler and Andy Kaufman. He was in charge of editing magazines like Pro Wrestling Illustrated. He's at a point where he could big time you, and people would say, well, people would frown upon it, but nobody could really say anything because, my goodness, the man has been there and back. But he's still one of those individuals that's giving.
Right. We're going to catch up on a few comments and then we'll keep going. Let's see here. Gary Benfield, that is the owner promoter of High Velocity Wrestling. I'll of course be talking about his show at the end of this show, because that's coming up. Uh, he said, "What's up, fellas?" David said, "Caprice Coleman is a gem of knowledge," and Gary chimed in, "Caprice is a class act." Yes, he is. Then there was another comment on here that said, "It's Mickey Mouse." Now, here's why. Let's see.
Okay.
So that is Mickey and Minnie Mouse at the Gathering with
Okay.
damn it, what is that guy's name?
Is it Tom Latimer?
It is. That's Tom Latimer. That is Tom Latimer. That's Barry Horowitz. um, that is Tori Wilson.
Wow.
And the reason that's funny is because somehow or another, Mickey took a selfie with my cell phone.
What?
Yeah, somehow or another. I don't know, but yeah, So yeah, Mickey and Minnie were at the Gathering. It was a trip. But so that's like I said, that's where I met Mr. Apter. Dude, the people that were in there, the laundry list of names. I walked up and spoke to Vampiro. I had a conversation I never expected ever to hear in my life with C.W. Anderson.
Oh, please share.
Rachel, do what? No. God, no. Oh, God, no. Rachel Ellering is girl next door, just sweet as she could be. She is like such a nice, polite person. Paul Ellering was there. It was just ridiculous. But I got a bigger pop out of meeting people that I knew that I hadn't had the chance to meet, like people already in my circle that I hadn't had a chance to meet. I kind of enjoyed that part. I enjoyed meeting meeting the celebs and the stars and whatever.
Right.
But when you meet peers and other people that are in your locale, another ring announcer, Brett Wolverton, I had the chance to meet Brett. So I was like, "Hey, Mr. Wolverton, it's nice to finally meet you." And he was like, "Do I know you?" I'm like, "Nope, not at all." And I just kept, and it was cool. I shook his hand. I'm like, "That's awesome." I had never got to see him, so I just haven't made it to the shows. Same went with Manny Mack. You may know Manny Mack. He does. He is involved heavily in XWW. It's another wrestling promotion in the Carolinas, but they're also a streaming service.
Okay.
They put independent wrestling on Roku. Like it's on a Roku app and all this other stuff. And you pay a subscription and you get all this indie wrestling content, including all my content. This show is on Roku. He takes the audio, puts it on podcast. He's got rights to do all that. So
I'm trying to find a pen and I can't. So I'll ask so that way I can go back and watch it. What is the name of the app?
I don't know the actual name of the app, but if you look up XWW, you'll find it. You can find it on Facebook.
Okay. I will definitely check that out. And circling back around to C.W. Anderson, because you're talking about nice people. Yep. One of the other individuals who's been really helpful to me to keep a level head and has given me great advice is his tag team partner from the Extreme Horsemen, Preston Quinn. I don't know if you've had the pleasure of meeting Preston Quinn. He's been around just as long as C.W. Anderson, and he's a really great guy. I remember because you talk about having the gurgles and all that before you go through the curtain. Back in February, him and C.W. Anderson were in a tag team match that I was getting ready to call, and their opponents were Ricky and Kerry Morton. And I'm like, it was one of those, I cannot screw this up. I cannot screw this up. And I worked myself up into such a frenzy. And Quinn came over and seeing me that a fact that I was about to have a meltdown in my suit right there and calmed me down. And because him and I have worked together in West Virginia before, and he knows who I am. And it was a great match. It was a very great match. And speaking of that, that match is available on YouTube. If you look at Ring Wars Carolina TV, you'll find the YouTube channel there. And it's a good match. It's a very good match. It's from a great evening.
Fantastic. Let's
Mhm.
see here. We got some comments. See, the third best blood drinker in wrestling is here. That's Ghazi. Gangrel is second. Vampiro is first.
I
Bill
will take his
Hazelwood,
word for it.
right? Bill Hazelwood, the mouthpiece of the Southeast himself, is in the house. He said, "You got to meet me." Well, I had already met Bill, so do
I'd
you know
like to
Bill
meet Bill.
Hazelwood?
I'd love to meet. No, I do not. I'd love to. Bill, please send me a friend request. I'd love to chat up and get to know you better.
Oh man, so Bill Hazelwood is everywhere. This guy, and
Okay.
he even when he's too busy, he'll recommend somebody else, and I appreciate it. Unfortunately, the weekend he hit me up about is my son's birthday, so
Okay.
it's like occasionally you got to draw a line.
Okay. So I have to tell you a story of what happened last July. Um, okay. So you have to go back to March. This is talking about people recommending people. A female promoter out of Spencer, West Virginia for Route 33 Wrestling gets a hold of me and says, "Hey, this photographer recommended you for ring announcing. Would you be interested in a couple of dates?" And I said, "Yeah, just let me grab my calendar." And I got back with her. One of the dates I couldn't commit for because I was already booked for Ring Wars Carolina. The one in July I took, and because we were off. And I'm like, cool, man. So I sit down with my wife to go over the bookings because we try to limit how far I go geographically for health reasons now and trying to help out and be a good husband. So there is that balance. Plus, for me, sometimes it's quality over quantity with promotions. We've all known the promotions that Jim Cornette would tear apart, and we all know the good ones. So, and I'm getting off track here, but there's a reason that I brought this story up. So we're going over the July bookings, and I said, "Yeah, I'm going to be in Lumberton this day, but on the 9th, I got to be there in Spencer. It's only a couple hours away. I'll be home. It's fine." She's like, "On our anniversary." Uh, yeah. Um, sorry about that. I can't break the commitment because I already told her, and it's my first time there. I want to make a good impression. So this is why I stay married to this woman, if for nothing else. She told me to go, and I did not get heat for it. I swear to God. So on my 11th wedding anniversary, I'm in Spencer, West Virginia, announcing wrestling.
Man, that's that's cool. So, like most of the time when people hit me up, it's during the day, and I'm in my office, 45 minutes from the house. I don't
Right,
have my gear bag. I don't have my calendar.
right.
So I always tell people I'll get to you this evening when I let me settle in and get home. What I do is I check with the wife and I check with the book. So I check with both before I do anything else.
Now, interesting side note to that. I was I was working for International Combat Sports, which is another promotion that you can find on YouTube, is another AIWF affiliate out of South Charleston, West Virginia. So I'm doing commentary, and I told one of the wrestlers and managers, I'm like, that was because it was a 3-man booth. I said, "Yeah, I did that," and the female valet was like, "You did not." I said, "Yes, I did." "No, you didn't." I said, "Yes, I did." And I did not know this, but apparently she has an impeccable memory. She's like, "You do know that is the third year in a row you've taken a booking on your anniversary." And I'm like, "There's no way." And I thought back,
Man,
and I'm like, my 9th anniversary, I was at a fundraiser in Maryville, Tennessee. My 10th anniversary, we had to book the trip we went on a week after our normal. I think it was still, we were supposed to go early, but I had a booking for our 10th wedding anniversary. And then this year I did it. And I made the comment to somebody, I'm like, "Please, somebody make sure that I do not book myself anywhere from July 8th to the 11th of 2023.
right. Now, just this past year, I I made sure I didn't accept a booking on the 8th or the 9th. Did I work the 8th? I don't remember. But either way, I left town on the 9th and I came back on like the 21st I got back, and the 23rd I was at a show. So
Wow.
I made sure I and we went down to Keys for
Mhm.
for that period of time. If I go, I'm going. Like I don't if I'm getting out of town, I'm getting out of town.
Oh yeah.
I, I want to go somewhere where I'm not to be bothered, you know?
Mhm.
So that's how I do that. Gary also stated that Brett started with HVW. So Brett Wolverton used to ring announce for High Velocity Wrestling back in the day.
Interesting.
Yep. But
Very
I
interesting.
mean, so we run a lot of the similar roads here.
Yeah.
Is a way to put that. I try to other than the anniversary thing, I try to avoid a lot of that.
Yeah.
It makes stuff worse. Now my daughter got mad because I took a booking the weekend of her birthday, and I'm like,
Oh.
I said, look, I might be able to let you go, but come to find out, it was an absolute crap show. Uh, and when I say no, we wear a several piece suit. Well, I was trying to figure out how to put a piece in my piece suit.
I can do you one better. I can do you one better.
Go
Although
for it.
maybe it's not as bad. It's not as dangerous. But I got a call, and this is like when I got sick for a while and needed open heart surgery, and I
Oh
was trying
man.
to get back. Yeah, another long story. And I was trying to get back in, so I'm taking bookings wherever I can. Somebody recommended me for a promotion in North Carolina. I will not say the name of the promotion because just out of discretion. And some of the people that used to work there that don't work there that work in other places now that are good people. So the referee was my go-between, the promoter and myself. So I said, all right, cool. Send me the address. So my wife gave her blessing. She's like, I know you're trying to get back into it. Go ahead and go. So I start driving and I'm ending up in North Carolina and I pull off. I'm like, okay, there's a Waffle House because they're everywhere. And I turn on this road and I turn on that road and I'm like, park my car because it says you have arrived. And I'm in front of this house. And I'm like, what? Okay. Well, maybe they're having me follow me to the building, or they're gonna follow. I'm gonna follow them, or whatnot, or we're gonna get in the car together so they can get to know me. That's fine. Then I looked about 50 yards to my left, and in the front lawn was a wrestling ring. I was doing professional wrestling announcing at somebody's house in the front yard as the neighbors had their chairs set up.
So this one was at the county park.
Yours?
Yep. This was
Oh,
at the county park. And the park has a fence this way,
right.
and they had people sitting at the entrances of the fence over this way.
Okay.
Meanwhile, the fans are walking in from the grandstands of the baseball fields over that way.
Oh,
I think the best thing that came out of that whole show, there was a spot with a tag team where they all four ended up out in the yard, right?
right.
And and the two bigger guys Irish whipped the two smaller guys, and they Forrest Gumped it all the way to the end of the park. They just did not stop running the entire time. The other dude, he kept running back and forth like he would run a little ways and he'd be like, I ain't gonna make it. He'd turn around, run back into the ring to break the count. And he must have broke the count 5 times. And I'm like, well, okay, sure. That was the best spot of the whole night. Uh, it was a travesty. I'll put it like this: you or me, we'd have been better off. At one point, I put the microphone down and just started yelling the announcements.
I've had that happen before
Yup,
where
hated
the
that.
audio is just went out. I was in some holler in West Virginia outside of Huntington, and the guy's sound system goes out. and I'm just doing it 1930s boxer style, screaming at the top of my lungs for these 100+ people because they're just like, what? But I've been there, and we've all been there. That's part of the
Yeah,
process. That's part of the fun. Because then you look
yeah,
back on it years later and you go, my God, how did I make it out of that?
right. But it's one thing I tell somebody's younger workers that I'm around because see I haven't been in the business long at all. I don't claim
Right.
to have been in the business long at all. I fell ass backwards into this in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I always say is you got to work the shit shows so you can appreciate the good shows. If you
Oh,
don't,
yeah.
you don't know, you don't know what you got. You don't know how to appreciate it. Um,
Oh, yeah.
so that is definitely a big deal. Let's see here. I've lost the wrestling. Good promotion. Talked about it on our show, Critical Hit. That's right. David and his buddy Aloysius Skipper Jenkins III. I think I got that right. They do a live show talking about all sorts of wrestling stuff, and it's called Critical Hit. So, David, hit up your boy. Hit your boy up. Get him on air. Let's make
I
this
don't
a
know why he
recurring thing.
hasn't. Yeah.
Make this a recurring thing. Let's see here.
Absolutely.
And Gary was appreciating the comment from him. David laughing at our horror stories here. Here he said the company I started with had a handheld speaker with a mic plugged in. Oh my!
Oh, goodness gracious.
Aloysius and I did a show where the power went out mid match. We did commentary via cell phone light. How could you see the action in the
Oh,
ring? Did everybody just light it up with their cell phones? And that's how you saw it?
okay. You got to get him on to tell that story. That's got to be a hilarious one.
Oh my god! Well, he was just on with us. We do every now and then randomly. I'll do something on a Tuesday night, whether it's one particular person just once a night just to talk about themselves or whatever. We'll do that.
Right.
Or if it was a couple weeks back, we did what's called the Thursday night indie or the round table rumble. So it was like Scott Larson was there. I was there. We invited podcasts from up and down the coast, including Gary Horn from This Is NWA was invited. He didn't show up. I got to meet
Oh.
him, and I got a bigger kick out of meeting him than I did most people at the gathering.
Oh. Was Will Martin there with him?
What's he look like?
Oh, he's
Kind of
bigger.
shaggy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's one of the other guys that does This Is the NWA. Yeah. Oh, God. I'd love to meet Gary.
Oh yeah, they were cool people, man. I met him at the bar, and I was like, I seen the shirt, and I was like, wait a second, I seen him, and he looked at me, and I bet he knows that I'm coming to ask him if that's who he is. But so I wandered around the escalator and went over to the bar, and I said, hey, are you Gary Horn? And he goes, yeah, that's me. I'm like, dude, it's an honor to finally meet you. You and I have chatted. And I told him who I was. I said, you're in a chat room, you just don't know you're there. that's what he's figured out. Oh, you're that guy. I'm like, yeah, that's me. So if he gets the chance to pop on or do the podcast thing with us, it's cool. If not, it is what it is.
But anyway, you said you were talking. You had this roundtable discussion. I cut you. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
The roundtable rumble. We talk about all sorts of random wrestling stuff, but we predominantly stick to what's going on in the televised world. Very infrequently do we bring up something that occurred in indie wrestling,
Right.
because you gotta play your audience, right?
Yeah.
We have to do it. We have to do it, and when we're in the ring announcing, we got to play to the audience.
Right.
Somebody asked me. I can't remember. It might have been my brother. It was. I think it was. I think it was my older brother asked me about, how did I feel, ring announcing and stuff. And I'm like, well, it's cool, but I think I do something just a little bit different than other people. He goes, well, what the hell could you do different? Everybody, this has been going on for years. What could you possibly do that's different? I said, well, you know how the card works. Underlined or star. You know what that means. I don't know what any of it means. I don't get that part. Only thing I get is who's in it. I watch the match and then I call the finish as per what's in front of me. So my reaction is what I just saw.
Right.
So it's different than forcing the inflection. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's just something that I've done. I do different, and then like some people gravitate to that. Some people don't. They don't like. They don't notice it until you tell them.
Yeah, I try to do it something not similar to that, but to me it doesn't matter where you're at on the card. You deserve a grand announcement because you're putting your body on the line out there. You're saying to
Right.
yourself and to others, hey, I want this other person to throw me on this thin mat and these 2x6 boards for anywhere from like 8 to 30, 40 minutes repeatedly, knowing that every time I take that fall, it is the equivalent of getting hit by a car at 25 miles per hour. So God bless them when they go out there. And I'm like,
Right.
I mean, you may not get to WrestleMania, kid, but I'm going to announce you like you are. And they appreciate that.
Right. I'm talking about the result of the match. You know,
Oh,
announcing the
okay.
winner.
Okay.
Like when I announced the winner, I don't know that they were supposed to win in the match.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I do different. As far as
Oh,
like I don't have too many. I got a couple of videos, but nothing major. I'll send you the one with Morton. I'll
okay.
send you that one, and you can critique it if you want. Yeah,
No, no. Okay.
I don't. I mean, it is what it is, man.
Yeah.
We do what we do, given the circumstances we're given, and you know that brings me back kind of to you. You're doing something that you love to help support someone you love and a
Yeah.
cause that you're behind. So that's throwing everything together and putting out one power play, you know? So
Right.
I mean I think it's a fantastic event.
Yeah. And I really deeply appreciate those kind words. One of the things I try to do is be a giving person just because of my upbringing. We won't get into religion or politics here, but just the way I was raised, it's like you give. Um, there's a lesson I'm trying to instill in my son, and he's picked up on it now at 6, which is it never costs anything extra to be nice.
Right.
And that's what we're doing here. We're being nice. The guys are giving of their time. Um, they didn't. I mean, they just could have been a regular event. They would have went home. I know some of them are going to waive their fee that night or work at a lower fee because they know how much this means to me, especially with my wife and the fact that what this organization means to me. And that's very touching. Um, and I remember when I brought this up to the president of Champions for HD, Shelby, she's like, "You're going to do what?" I'm like, "Yeah," and she's like, "Okay," because usually she does concerts and park events and so on and so forth. I'm like, let's raise money as two grown men beat the tar out of each other, and then we'll see how much cash we make.
I mean, that's
Hey.
a lot. I mean, you know, I I just did a we just did a cancer benefit a couple of months
Mhm.
ago. Actually, that's how I came into this. Um,
Really?
yeah, the first thing I ever did for professional wrestling, indie wise, was I did 4 hours of really bad commentary. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know any of their moves. I had nothing written. I had no idea what I was doing. So what I
Right.
did was I basically did a live stream from the event with a camera guy who just so happened to be my buddy, who I just handed my cell phone to, and I'm like, "Here, you do this part, and I'll sit over here in my suit, and I'll do this part." Um, so he recorded for like 4 hours, and I just sat there and talked for 4 hours. A couple of wrestlers were cool. They came over and sat down with us and BS'd, and that was cool. But
Mhm.
it was a cancer benefit.
Yeah.
I didn't want anything out of that. I just wanted to, it was my chance to give the middle finger to cancer and call it a day.
Yeah. And I'm saying this from personal experience now because I've done a couple of different fundraisers. Eh, on the independent level, and I'm sure on the bigger level too, those that can give do. But on the independent level, the talents that I've worked with are the most giving people, especially if it's one of their own, like has a house fire or a medical bill, that
Yeah.
people will come out of the woodwork for a cause and volunteer their time, which I think is great.
Right. Oh, and that's I see that as well, and I am happy that that's the way it goes
Hmm.
because it makes for a better community. You know, wrestlers themselves and indie wrestling gets a bad rep for being carny and being, you know, just stupid and barbaric. It's none of those things.
No.
It can be all of those things, but in most
Hmm.
cases, it's not. Professional wrestling is the world's greatest variety show because there's a little bit of everything in there.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what night you watch it on, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, randomly whenever they're on Saturday or Sunday, it doesn't matter.
Hmm.
It's there's always something for everybody at every show. So I think that's what makes it so spectacular, and it also makes it the guys are willing to do more to support a cause that they can get behind.
Right.
You yourself have been around for 14 years, up and
Right.
down the road. You've given people their roses while they're still standing, and now these guys, all 14 years of this, are you know whether they're there or not, they're behind you because they want this to succeed for you. So it's just cause,
Yeah.
it is completely apropos for this.
Yeah. And I have to say, because a lot of it gets a bad rap, like you said, in independent professional wrestling. But my experience has been with my travels, there are more people that are on the fraternal side than the backstabbing side. I think there's a humongous bad rap there about people are only out for themselves and trying to get as much as they can and get over on this guy or that guy. I have found that to be the exact opposite. I've seen many individuals get helped by other people. I've seen wrestlers watch matches because they were asked to by another individual and then gave of their time to give the critique. I do feel bad when I hear people say, "Oh, but they're just out for themselves." No, I, that has not been the case for me. I can't speak for everybody, but the majority of the individuals I dealt with will help somebody else raise up the ladder.
Right. Because the higher the ladder gets raised, the more money there is for everybody.
Exactly. And that's the thing I've never understood of why are you worried about somebody if they're doing this over here and they're getting a bigger reaction? That person means they're going to bring people in, so the gate's going to go up, which, hey, moron, your payout may go up. You know, it just that baffles me when people are trying to be so protective and so cutthroat versus
Right.
being open-minded and looking at the bigger picture.
Right. Couple of comments here. Scott Larson chimed in from hashtag Truth, said Jonathan Darwin, the man, the myth, the legend. Thomas Scott chimed in. Hello, my friends. What is up, Jonathan?
Thomas, it's great to see you, man, and hear you. Oh, before I forget, because I don't
Yeah.
know, let me find that email that I got. I wanted to promote this because I think it's coming out in tomorrow's newspaper, and I apologize that I didn't have this pulled up.
It's all good. You can send it straight to me in Messenger and I'll drop it right in here.
Okay, so let's see here. Let's see here. Sent. Hello, my name. Okay. I cannot find it, but there's a newspaper that's going to be in tomorrow. I'm trying to remember which newspaper. I feel so bad now because I sent that out to so many promotions, or not promotions, excuse me, newspapers, and I know somebody's running it. I will have to get that to you in the comments because let's see here. Maybe I can find it real quick. And I cannot, and I feel bad. I will pin that to my Facebook page because we are getting press out of this as well. And that doesn't come without Thomas Scott helping me figure out how to navigate those waters. So, and I
Right.
wanted to share that
He's
publicly.
I I spend a lot of time on the phone, predominantly with promoters.
Mhm.
I spend a very good bit of time on the phone with Thomas Scott, Gary Benfield, Jimmy Ward, Cole McAbee.
Mhm.
I talk to all these guys pretty constantly and consistently throughout the week. Um, you know, I hear from talent and I reach out to talent as well. But
Mhm.
most of my communication is done with promoters. I also talk with referees like Gene Perry, Kylan Disney, and Timothy Godfrey. I speak with them a great deal as well. Gene Perry might be a name you recognize. I don't know.
I don't know it. I'm sure if I looked it up. Oh, my apologies. Crap. The story ran. If anybody gets can find the Richmond County Daily from yesterday, they ran a story there. Now I got to look that up when we get done. I thought it was. I could have sworn they were going to run it Friday, but it was Wednesday. My mistake. But hey,
Gotcha.
I'll share the link now.
Fantastic. I
So,
appreciate that, and I'll share the link when it comes to me.
mhm,
And so anybody watching, if you guys want to check it out, you can go right to the social media page and see what's up.
mhm.
Because see, the cool thing about this show's on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. It's across 4 Facebook Lives. Plus, I know you're probably sharing it as well. Um,
Yes.
so that way we get the messages out there. But man, I think it's really awesome what you're doing.
Thank
Uh,
you. Thank you
I
so much.
would tell you, I would tell you if you needed anything to let me know. But September 3rd is like right around the corner, so I don't know
Right.
about September 3rd. Um, but I mean, definitely keep me posted for the future on these. If you
Absolutely.
plan to do another one or any more, um, try to set something up,
I
and
definitely will.
yeah, I have
Yeah.
to pick
And
up
like I said,
Scott
I'll
on my
follow.
way there.
Yeah, I'd love to meet Scott face to face. We're talking about meeting people. I have not actually ever met Scott face to face, and I kind of would like to do that. That's a bucket list thing for me.
That
So
that was on mine as well. I left work early one day and drove up to a show I knew he'd be at and paid my entry as a fan and just kind of waddled in the back and nobody noticed I
mhm.
was there.
Cool. That is
Oh
very
man.
cool.
Well, I have to
Very
pick up
cool.
Thomas Scott as well. So
Oh,
we don't have to jump into
eh, yeah. And by the way, if you don't mind, could I plug the Champions website for those that can't make it that evening and want to help out?
Of course.
All right. So let's see here. And so if you go to championsforhd.org, you can either do this two ways. You can act the /donate, or if you just go to the championsforhd.org page, there's a big purple blue donate button at the top there. And as you can tell, I'm wearing purple because that's one of the uh, HD color ribbons. It's for JHD. So if you can't make it and you want to help out, that's the way you can as well. And I thank anybody in advance for their donations.
Right. Just to give people an idea of what they're looking for.
Mhm.
this is the website that he's talking about. This is
Oh,
championsforhd.org.
thank you.
Yep,
Mhm,
no problem. You can see the link is right here. Matter of fact,
mhm.
I will put that in our comments section for anybody out there wants to check it out. It's there. Except it posts it, 5, 6 times because of all the different profiles. So
But
hey, it
thank
is
you
what
for
it is.
that.
But hey, no problem. There's a huge donate button you can't miss. Um, there's a lot of stuff going on. Now I wonder if
Y-
they're do they have your upcoming event listed on
She's a,
this?
she is supposed to. I have I have not looked. I know she's been sharing it on Facebook and Instagram. Um, Now that book, by the way, right there, if you're looking for a story that explains HD for children, that's a good book. That was written by Shelby Lenz. It's called Brave Brianna. It's about $10. All the money goes to Champions for HD. And the reason it was titled that book is that was the name of her sister that passed away from JHD. So, but yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah, but you know what? I'm gonna have to look for that now and send her a text message and go, did that make it? So
Yeah, I'm checking here. I'm not
I'm
seeing
glad
it
you pointed that
anywhere.
out. Thank you, sir.
Oh, no problem. I just happened to
Okay.
take a look.
Well, then,
Oh, actually, here we go. Here's the events. Maybe it's under the events tab. Concerts, Miracle at South Haven. That was the Christmas party, and that's all they got. Yeah, benefit
yeah,
concert and
it,
that.
it,
So,
yeah.
yep.
Well, if it's not there, it's other places. I got to tell you, there are several Facebook groups just for North Carolina wrestling that have been very supportive of allowing me to share the information in events like this one. I got a couple more podcasts that I'm going to be on uh, in the near future promoting this event. So I'm grateful
Fantastic.
for I'm grateful for everybody. I'm grateful for you giving me this time tonight, and those that are wanting to help me raise as much money as we can for champions.
Oh, definitely. Uh, if you don't get a hold of him, I'll send him a message later. But get with David Estacado because he's in your area for that one. So that
David,
would be that'd be a good call.
yeah, I'd love to see you out there, man.
Yep. Well, no, I'm saying get with him about their show Critical Hit, so you can do this again.
Yes. Oh gosh, yes. I
Yep.
forgot. So
Yep. Yep. Hey, look, I have a really bad memory. I got CTE on top of CRS, so I mean that's just kind of how things go. Um, let's see here. I am missing one poster, so I can wrap this show up. I've got your poster right where it goes, and it'll be there until the event is over every Thursday that this is on, plus
thank you.
any additional time I'm on for the indie side. I will always pop these posters up to make sure everybody gets their stuff out there. Um, let's see here. I got to add one before I move on. It takes me a minute to get there because of how much
No
crap
problem.
I got to go through.
Yeah, I'm looking at that newspaper. I'm going to have to reach out to that editor and ask, hey, how can I get a copy of the story to share to social media?
Exactly. Let's see here because coming up, the very next event I'm a part of is right here. And this is going to be High Velocity Wrestling Presents Inferno. Uh, before I move into this part of the show, because this is the wrap up period, is there
Hmm.
anything you want to go over? Anything you want to say? We're obviously going to bring up headlocks and for Huntington's disease again when we get to that on the calendar, because I lay the calendar out there so people can plan accordingly where to go to see great wrestling.
No, there's nothing else. I've got to speak my piece and then some. So thank you.
Man, anytime I'll have to have you back on after the show. You'll have to tell us all about it.
I will. I definitely will. Thanks again.
Hey, no problem. You're welcome to hang out, or if you need to go take care of stuff, you do you. But
Yeah, yeah, I got to get a hold of some television studios between the 6 and 11 o'clock news, as well as try to get a hold of that newspaper now stuff. Thank you again for having me.
of course, sir, thank you very much for being here, and you have a fantastic evening. Great show, ladies and gentlemen. Our guest, Jonathan Darwin. All right, guys. So you heard the event. You know what we got to do. We got to surround it. We got to flood the gates on that one. Uh, but we got some wrestling to get to before we get there. So let's see here. High Velocity Wrestling presents Inferno, August 27th in Marion, North Carolina. That is going to be a badass night of wrestling right there. Can't wait to see what happens. September 3rd is Headlocks for Huntington's disease. That's in Lumberton, North Carolina. It's also a television taping for Ring Wars, Carolina. High Velocity Wrestling presents Battleground. That is going to be live Friday, September 9th at Silverado's. That is going to be pretty neat. There's also going to be Quentin Rampage Jackson. And he's available for meet and greets. That is neat. Let's see here. We've got the Parade of Champions coming up Saturday, September the 10th. September is going to be a busy month for you, boy. I'm not lying to you. You can see the card here for Parade of Champions. That is the second annual Ray Bitt Barber Memorial Showcase. Coming up a little bit later in September, we have the CPW Takeover Show. Performing live at the Welford Pavilion will be Cutthroat Susie. And I do not have an overall poster for this event, but September 24th, you can see it right here, man. 6:30 door and bell time at 7:30. Johnny Rada versus Buggy Wright. I think this match has changed, but I'm not 100% sure. I believe I know it's still the Foundation. I'm just not sure about their opponents. I believe this one may be the same. If not, I'll be corrected. Jordan Holt and Corey Sparks. Got the grudge match. White Claw Outlaws versus the New Age Villains. There's some bad animosity between these guys. That's going to make for a great match. Fatal 4-Way Tag Team Elimination. Bebop and Brino. And Lodi versus Drew Hood. I've got to get more pictures on this thing. Let's see here. That is September the 24th. Coming up after that, we've got His Pro Wrestling. And that's going to be Friday, September 30th in Packlet, South Carolina. Neil Koloff from the Koloff Dynasty versus Deion Johnson. And we also have the heavyweight, or the His Pro Wrestling champion, Antonio Morgan, issues an open challenge. October the 1st, the 7th annual Holly Yatsko Memorial Cup. I'm really excited for this event as well. So we'll see you at the Gilkey School Community Center in Rutherfordton, North Carolina. October the 8th, Heroes to Legends Ministries presents Shop with a Cop 2. That's Heroes to Legends Wrestling, Pro Wrestling Union. It's going to be another banger show. If you're not in North Carolina, but you're in South Carolina on the 8th, check out AWL's Super Clash. Got a ton of stars. Look at the star power on the flyer. Man. Then later on in October, we have Pro Wrestling Union presents Monsters Brawl. Man, all right. You got Cutshaw, you got Brittany Jade, and you got Bebop chilling on the pumpkin. What more do you need to know? What more do you need to do? You don't need to. Do you know why? Because I told you to go. And if I'm telling you to go, that means you need to go. Because I only take you to where you want to be. Ladies and gentlemen, we had a phenomenal time with our guest tonight, Jonathan Darwin. Go check out the website, Champions for HD. .org. Be sure you check out the event. Even if you can't make it, man, anything can help with these charities. And it's a terrible disease, as you heard him describe it earlier in the show. And our thoughts and prayers are always with, especially his wife, because he's in this industry with us. So we always try to support those around us, and that's what we're trying to do here. But at any rate, it's been real. It's been fun. And hell yeah, it's been real fun. I'll catch you on Sunday for the Wrestling Wire, 4 p.m. Don't be late. Thus proclaimed, the Saint.